Good morning. This is John Richardson speaking with you from Toronto, Canada. Today is, I guess it's Wednesday, the 7th of June, 2023. And on Wednesday mornings, I often have a workout with the infamous Coach Coutts, which often leads to, or increasingly so, leads to a podcast. So here we are today, the post-workout podcast with David Coutts. How are you today?
I think we just got a name for this right here, the post-workout podcast.
The post-workout podcast, or things I learned during my training sessions, et cetera, et cetera.
I love it. Yeah, I'm doing well, John. Good session this morning, and I love how keeping you moving always seems to help, right? And the more consistent you are with it, it just doesn't go away. Like I told you, you do that consistently, always and forever. And in the 90s, you'll be squatting, you'll be outrunning people because you're consistent, right? It doesn't go away unless we stop moving, right?
Well, then we will not stop moving.
That's the goal, right? Don't stop moving. Why would you stop? It's so fun.
Well, I like the simplicity of that. Just keep on moving.
Yeah, absolutely. The Nike just do it kind of idea. Keep moving. Kind of like
just move it.
Yeah, just move.
Have you thought of creating sort of some kind of I wouldn't call it a video series, but some kind of a virtual presence where people wake up in the morning, the first thing they see is sort of just move, Coutts advice.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea for sure. People need motivation, absolutely. I like the one I've used for years for myself. Works really, really well. Getting to the gym is to just get there. Because normally once I get to the gym, I do something, I'm done, I leave. I always ask people, when was the last time you left a workout and you hated it? You felt worse. It was the dumbest idea to go and exercise. Typically, you're always going to feel better. And if you can attach yourself to that memory, then just get there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. Well, we were talking a bit, of course, about diet and all that sort of stuff. And, I was naturally astounded to learn that you don't eat chickpeas raw, but.
Yeah, I know that's kind of how it started, right? And right away, I'm like, what are you eating? I'm always curious what clients are mowing down on. And when I realized you're eating chickpeas from the can, I had to look it up again because I'm like, oh, they're good in fiber and protein, but there's some good stuff. And they're a superfood. They're loaded with potassium and B6 and magnesium and just a very, very solid food, very low on the sugar scale, high in the protein scale. So, yeah, it's a great food to be snacking on.
Well, they're easy. They're easier to eat. I only do well with very, very small messages. Things like keep moving, open the can. Like this is the level I operate on in life, right? If it gets too complicated, I wouldn't be able to do it. All right. So there we have keep moving and open the can. All right. But on the issue generally of diet nutrition, and we got onto the topic of calories, so I thought
you like Coutts on calories.
Coutts on calories, exactly. So what are your thoughts on diet and calories and that sort of stuff?
Well, I think it kind of went into, I wanted to give you a good message in case you had, heard about calories all over the internet or in general, people chatting about calories. And I feel like it's not always the best direction to start with people trying to gain health, lose weight, whatever it may be, right? What we know about calories is it's a unit of measurement, right? So we use it to see how much energy did this food give us that I consumed? And we sort of add that up thinking, okay, when our calories are lower, we lose weight. And there's definitely some truth to that. You want to make sure that if you're eating for 6 people, you're going to look almost the size of 3 or 4 people. But so obviously eating less, counting the unit of measuring. But I always love that saying of quality over quantity. Because if we look at it where everybody's counting calories, trying to be focusing more on calories than anything, but quality gets overlooked. And if you ate an entire chocolate cake, but you kept enough cake for the next day that you hit your calories, you didn't really do your body any service. You fed it crap. You didn't give it any nutrients. And that's kind of where we got into a bit of the conversation of, calories are overhyped. Overthought is like the answer, when realistically we should be looking at that our main health tool, which is to increase the quality, right?
Okay. So Clearly, the chocolate cake is not quality.
Well, you know what? I can't say for sure. What do you think?
I don't know. I only open cans. If it's not in a can,
A can of cake then.
do they have chocolate cake in cans?
Typically, when it has cake attached to it, it's not good for you. A lot of people don't realize that pancakes are basically sugar and flour, and but we fry a cake in the pan and it's still a cake, right? But yeah, cakes are not great for you. But just sugar in general, low processed foods, crop-free, low calorie, non-nutrient dense foods. If you're eating those but hitting your calories, you're going to be very unhealthy. And I would say this would be probably something that most people wouldn't agree with in the health and training regimen of I don't really count calories till I have to with clients. And you're like, well, that makes no sense. And maybe if I had somebody that clearly is overeating and we need to put that in perspective. But what I did people to do is to track their food. And then we talk about their food choices. And then I get them to make or try to get them to make better food choices until they're feeling happier, healthier. They're now retaining nutrient dense foods. And a lot of times what we'll do is focus on balancing blood sugar and making the right food decisions. Once their blood sugar is balanced, they're like, hey, I don't snack as much. I'm not feeling as, I'm getting more protein, so I'm a little more full. And, they're starting to lose weight, feel better, get in shape. And I haven't counted a calorie yet. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably something people don't think about when they're training clients. They're like, oh, yeah, where do we at? Well, 2,700, you're at the 33. For some people, that can be almost too stressful. And counting calories is doing the opposite for them and making them worse.
Now, on the issue of stress, okay, when I think of calories, I also associate automatically with weight gain, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's what society kind of tells you.
Yeah, that's mostly the context that you hear that, right? Count calories, whatever.
Yeah.
But I will say this: that I have noticed that all you have to do is get on a plane and fly out of North America. And generally speaking, the people look a lot healthier.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think that's kind of how we got started with our nutrition chatter there a little bit. You're like, hey, why is everyone in Finland so healthy? And I said, well, I have family in Sweden and everything. If you go over to that part of the world, you'll start to notice they have higher regulations and standards than we do. For one, there's something they spray all over North American food called glyphosate. It's a horrible thing to put on our food, a fungicide, herbicide, not good for the human body, but we spray it on everything. Over there, it's illegal. You're not allowed to even use it. So that's one crazy example. And I think what I told you is it's even hard to find like Kraft peanut butter in the grocery store in some places because they just don't stock up on crappy quality or crappy foods. Instead, it's based on quality foods. And they have stricter rules, right? So your country is forced to eat healthier foods based on these stricter rules.
I mean, do you think it's that people outside North America have a specific consciousness of better foods, or do you think it's just the culture, regulations, perhaps it's just the way that it works out? I mean,
yeah, you nailed it there. I would say culture is a huge thing. We're socially get your Coca-Cola and eat your whatever favorite foods. As Popeye's chicken is every other commercial. People are constantly faced with these advertisements, and it's tough. You walk by it, you smell it, you're like, sweet, and those are the choices you make. Whereas people love it when you go to Europe. There's like a fresh, like homemade bakery where they use quality ingredients and real milk. And that kind of stuff is lost in North America. We try to make everything as fake as possible for as cheap as possible, and it affects our health.
What do we know about longevity, expected lifespan in North America versus, say,
sure. You talk I couldn't give you 100%. Like since this was sort of an off-the-cuff podcast, I can't give you 100% numbers. But I do have old charts from 2010, 2011, something like that. And it was just obesity charts. And the craziest part was North America was fairly high, especially in certain places. But in the United States, obesity was through the roof. We saw Texas was one of the bigger ones, some of the southern states. And it was blue and red. I remember that. And blue was bad. And you saw little specks of red because most of it was what considered to be obese. And as we all know, obesity tends to reflect out towards health problems. And North America, especially America, seemed to really hold that trophy.
and nobody really cares, right? I mean, I don't think that North Americans generally care particularly, do they?
Well, they're not told to care, right? Instead, all the ads and all the things they think their favorite celebrities are doing, they're following along with. Um, they're also in sort of a society, we're in it as well, with medicine as sort of, here's your pill. Oh, you have high blood sugar.
Yeah, this of course is I think a major problem. This over reliance on drugs, right? It's just
It's a whole, we're
crazy.
talking calories here, but yeah, going down the drug idea is a whole another scenario. But in a sense, it has the same message as what I'm giving here, which is like, get it from your food, right? You can remove bad things for you and then add good things for you and help with your issues instead of relying on a pill that we don't really know yet what that does in 10 years or 20 years. Whereas you can always change to be healthier, more nutritious foods, spend some time fasting. There's a lot of things you can do naturally, and the doctor's not going to tell you that, unfortunately.
Well, this is a thought I have. I don't know if you agree or not, but does this make sense to you that the medical model in North America is based on sickness and not on health, right?
Mm-hmm.
The OHIP, the Ontario Health Plan, for example.
Yep.
You go to a doctor when you're already sick, right? I mean, as far as I know, people don't go to doctors to say, what can I do to stay healthy? Or maybe they do. I don't know. Do they?
Sure. Well, they try to do checkups for that reason, so that you see them not just because you're off, but because you're also it's been a year or two and we need to see you. But I've also noticed that those checkups are pushed. They're just too busy, so you're not going to see them every few years now as opposed to every year. And they don't really have as much time to see you if you have a cough versus if that person's dealing with lymphoma and these people are diabetic, and there's a lot of sick people, right? So they're very busy. And so when you're really, really busy, you don't have time to sit down and open someone's refrigerator and say, this does that, and these are these, blah, blah, blah. Instead, you give them what you're taught, first of all, and you kind of hope that they can learn. But a lot of people stick with what they're doing. Sweet, I got a medication now. I'll just keep doing what I was doing.
What are your thoughts on the relationship between extreme stress and weight gain?
That's huge. You and I did one podcast not too long ago, and we talked a little bit about cortisol and stress being a big issue there. Stress shuts down everything. Stress will bump your blood sugar, and we all already know that if we bump our blood sugars, we're going to end up either holding more fat or getting diabetic if it's too out of control. And high quality stress, well, high amounts of stress will do that over time, the way that it affects our blood sugar as well. It also can shut down our immune system, which is going to make us more sick. You have aches and pains in your body, your stress is too high, you don't have enough stress to help. That is cortisol, kind of like a prednisone. It can work as an anti-inflammatory, so your aches and pains will be worse, right? And so definitely going to affect digestion, and definitely going to affect your body and obesity. I don't think it's talked about enough, even though it's definitely a hot topic. But yeah, if you could go into your doctor and be like, how do I reduce my cortisol levels, that'd be a great conversation to have.
How would it go?
Well, I don't know how a doctor would do it, but if I were to say, hey, yeah, sure, how do we, of course, reduce your cortisol levels? I'd probably just have 4 main aspects of their life. What are you eating? How are you sleeping? How's your digestion? And how's your mental state? Right? We can nail all 4 of those to be a little bit better. Then your stress should be much lower. We'll reduce stress from shitty foods. We'll reduce stress from not sleeping enough. We'll reduce stress from overthinking and being an anxious person. And if we can get those things in alignment, we can drastically reduce cortisol, which screws up everything. And we can have it for what it's needed for. Good solid energy when you want to work out, or waking up in the morning because your cortisol's up, right? And yeah, that's kind of how I would do it if someone asked, how do I reduce my cortisol?
So we live in Toronto here, where a lot of people. I wouldn't say that it's the an extraordinarily stressful city to live in, but it is a big city with its level of stress, horrible traffic,
big cities,
can't get anywhere quickly. It's an expensive city to live in. Inexpensive food is generally garbage food, the type of stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to eat well and exercise, right?
Takes effort. Absolutely.
Well, it takes purpose, that's for sure. It takes purpose, I think.
Yeah, have to care about your health, and that takes education, really.
Well, I mean, if you were to ask people, do you care about your health? 100 out of 100 would say yes, but that's
Yep.
not true, is it?
Oh, they probably do care. Whether they take care of their health is another story.
Ah, that's the difference.
Yep. Everybody cares, but do they take care of it? Well, no, I get to bed on time. Well, they'll always tell you the thing. I always have this salad at whatchamacallit. And they'll tell you that one thing they know they do that's good for their health. Or sometimes it's if they blow me out of the water with what they do. Like stuff with you there, I love how your accidental snack is an extraordinarily healthy one with a pile of chickpeas, right? Stuff like that. Perfect. Love it.
Well, it's only because I didn't have a chocolate bar around.
I don't believe that to be true. I've known you so many years now, and every once in a while you've got freaking apricots and almonds, or you've got a can full of chickpeas, or you're filling the crock pot with basic vegetables and chicken.
No, you're probably right. What I found is that, as I sort of gone through life, I've naturally, fortunately, I think just started to like somewhat better quality food better than garbage. So I think I'm probably fortunate in that respect.
Yeah, something in you was like, this is better. I know it's better for me. And you made that decision. These are the things I eat.
Yeah, that's interesting. But boy, I can tell you, I think it is incredibly difficult to consistently eat well. I mean, I know so many people who go to such pains to make sure their dogs always eat organic food, right? I mean, their dogs eat 1,000 times better than they do.
And costly too. Yeah, you get these.
That's right. Maybe what people should learn to do is eat the same way they feed their dog. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, some people don't. I've seen people with disgustingly large cats, and I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, but it's not working for your cat, right? So some people don't quite know how to feed themselves or their animals. But you're right. It seems like they would normally give a little more attention to making sure their dog is super healthy and gets an omega-3s, and they'll live on Popeye's chicken.
All right. So let's move the discussion over a little bit. What
Sure,
about
man.
vitamins, supplements while we're into this whole thing? I know that you
Calories and moving into supplements, absolutely, for sure. Well, supplements are, people always tell you something that should supplement your food. And I definitely do agree with that. Making sure that, and it's the same with how I start with people in general. Let's not count calories. Let's make sure what you're eating first is nutrient dense and that you're getting what you need: good protein, good nutrients, good antioxidants, quality fiber. Once that's sort of taken care of, then yeah, there may be a reason for them to use supplements. Maybe they were on a high sugar diet for years, never even ate fish in their life. And I'll be like, you know what? We need to get you on some omega-3 fish oil, get your omega-3s up. I give that to most people anyways, but that'd be an example where I definitely won't want to give them even more fish oil. Other big ones, make sure you're on a quality multivitamin. That just make sure you get all those small trace minerals, a little bit of zinc, and all the things that do need to be in balance. Too much of one thing causes problems. Body, is all about balance. But yeah, those are some top two. Definitely have.
So what about, you go into Shoppers Drug Mart. Let's talk about, the range of quality of supplements, right? So, you go into Shoppers Drug Mart or whatever.
Yeah. So you're going into Shoppers. It's tough if you don't already know what you're looking for with supplements. Like I've been using supplements for years, and that is probably one of the biggest problems is that they're not regulated. So if a company comes out and puts a nice fancy label on it and it looks awesome, the guy's got a huge arm, and like, this is how you get this huge arm. You're like, sweet, I'm gonna take this supplement. Meanwhile, it's a sugar pill. And maybe has 1/8 of what they told you, or what they get put in there is so old it's expired. I know people who've taken fish oil and tend to burp up a lot. A lot of times, if you get in the fish burps, that's rancid fish oil, and so that the quality is just not there for certain companies. So the first thing you want to know is like, what company is this, right? And you'll look at it, and if you can, we all have our phones. You can quickly Google something. Be like, wow, what a reputable company. Made in Denmark. They spread out to China. They have all these companies that back labs that back.
Well, have you thought of coming out with a Coutts supplement line?
The Coutts brand, yeah. If I ever did, it would have to be quality. And
I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would.
For sure. But that just seems to not matter for a lot of people. They'll be like, whatever, we can use this and use that. Like, this is something you're putting in you all the time. It should be quality. And yeah, it's not a bad idea. I'd probably have like the top 5 things people need, which I find is omega-3s, vitamin D, a multivitamin, zinc, and a lot of times B complex for people, B vitamins.
But just the mainstream, Shoppers Drug Mart or
They can have it. That's the thing. So once you know what
they
to look
okay or
for,
not okay?
you can sometimes, and that's the problem. Shoppers Drug Mart will have 12 different brands, and
But
I can't.
their own brand.
Their own brand, I wouldn't say for sure, but I have a feeling they're not putting the same kind of effort as Metagenics Labs, for instance, companies that work with osteopaths and regulate with nutritionists to give quality supplements. A lot of times they'll cut corners, right? You'll see high quality vitamin C, and they use really crappy ascorbic acid. I saw one not long ago. It was vitamin D. And I think they've gotten rid of this, but they didn't really realize that vitamin D2 was not absorbed very well. But that's what they sold the most of. And then that disappeared. Now everyone buys vitamin D3, the most highly absorbed version of it. So stuff like that over time, people are like, oh, wow, this doesn't really work. So you've got to really do a little bit of research. It helps to ask people who know things about it or who are in functional medicine even, or the best people to talk to.
Right. And of course, I think that happiness is a huge barometer of all this too, right? Just, general mental state.
Well, yeah, you also said when you were going back to your story of going over to Finland there, exercise is more common there. Right? People are doing it regularly. They take care of it. They go for walks. There's way more cycling going on. So that's another thing. We just talked about the basics of like eating healthy and getting exercise. They do both of those way better. And that can easily reflect to what we see over here in North America.
Well, it's just how they live their lives, right? I mean,
exactly. It's nothing to them. They don't feel deprived, but they're getting the benefit from being in a healthier country.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do think that this whole thing is general evidence or more evidence, right? Or sort of, I think, a relative decline in North America.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's been going over and over again. What's been popular recently on the internet is they keep showing pictures of beaches and large gatherings where people have their shirts off, like huge Woodstock kind of almost pictures. And like they play this game, like find an overweight person. And you just can't. Most of them are in pretty decent shape, and you just can't find anyone overweight. This is in the 70s, right? And now we're looking at it. If you saw a picture today, it'd be find the thin person, find the person in shape. We've done a complete reversal. And a lot of it is processed foods. A lot of it is aiming for more sugars and starches and being more toxic in general, being less active. And so we're just seeing this quick and fast reversal in the body.
I think there's absolutely no question about that. No question.
But you'll see it. I'll find you one. I'll send it to you. It's pretty funny. You're like, yeah, that's crazy. That's just a random picture from a beach. And yeah, everyone looks in decent shape, or at least not overweight. Whereas it's not at all the case nowadays.
All right. So let's say, as we sort of bring us to a close for today, if you were to give just 3 pieces of advice, simple advice that anybody could follow.
Sure.
Keep them moving in the right direction. Just say 3 simple things anybody can do every day. What would they be?
3 simple things to do every day. Take a few minutes, or not a few minutes, take a few seconds to think about what you're eating, right? It's very, very simple, right? But like quality over quantity, we started with for calories. So the more you eat quality food, the better you will feel, right? If I go to what I've been working with one of my clients recently, I would say make sure to get enough protein. It was such a big change for her to all of a sudden add some turkey and some meat here. And then she felt less hungry, more satiated. And of course, I know that's going to help with her physical activity. So get a little bit more protein. And we didn't talk about it at all here, but we were talking about blood sugar. We're talking about balancing hormones. Get your sleep. Make sure you prioritize sleep in some sort of fashion. Try to get to bed before 12, but aim for a good 8-9 hours if possible, 7, 8, 9. Make sure that it's dark so that you're able to sleep without the TV on, whatever it might be. Good quality sleep. So yeah, quality nutrients, quality sleep would be huge for sure.
You make it sound like how the cavemen lived.
I know, right? And then I've got books over here called Paleo Diet, and I literally how it goes back to what did we eat and why do we eat things. But the paleo diet is a good idea, right? It's just going back to what Earth gave us instead of what man has deemed as food, as a food flavoring. Here you are, tastes like food, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, we've destroyed the planet, we've destroyed ourselves. It's like,
Yeah.
is there anything that man doesn't touch that eventually gets destroyed?
Not if we can make money on it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that's probably true.
I agree. It's pretty
Great.
random.
Another great discussion. And
Yeah.
you've got your usual presence out there where people can find you, and where
Yes.
can
Yeah.
they find you for more of that Coutts wisdom?
Yeah. They can come to CoachCoutts.com if they're interested in my services, or if they want to just follow me in semantics. I'm Coach Coutts on Instagram, but on Twitter I am Real Coach Coutts. Thanks to John here, making sure that there is only one.
There's only one Coach Coutts. Exactly. All right. All right. Great discussion, and we'll pick
Great
it
stuff,
up
buddy.
again soon. Thanks, David.
100%. Good workout this morning too there, John. We'll chat soon.
Thanks.
Okay, buddy.